Shalom from Israel, I'm Ariel Ben Abraham. This week we're going to reflect on chapter number 4 of the book of Psalms by King David. Let's start. For the leader with string music, a psalm of David. Before we begin our reflection, let's talk about a little bit these introductions to most of every psalm in the book. Usually the psalms are considered poems or songs. So in Hebrew, usually, traditionally, song and poem have the same semantic root or origin. So these were poems and songs in order to be performed, to be played with. It's like to be accompanied by music. So sometimes we will say, for the leader, like for the director, a psalm from David, by David. So this is an invitation for us to understand these praises as songs. So we're singing, basically. We're singing to God. So this is sometimes it's for a string instrument or for a particular kind of instrument that we don't know what kind of instruments they were. We just get the words. We don't know really exactly how they were. We have an idea, a harp or a guitar or a kind of violin, but we don't know the way they were. So, but again, the idea of this introduction is to keep in mind, excuse me, that when we are reading a praise, a psalm of David, we have the intention that it's a poem or a song that we're singing. So the idea is to get some kind of empathy in our consciousness, in our feelings, emotions, thoughts, mind, discernment, intellect, and even passion, to be united, to be harmonized like in a music piece in our praising of God. That's the idea. So verse 2, it says, "Answer me when I call you, O God of my righteousness. You who did set me free when I was in distress. Be gracious to me and hear my prayer." Let's analyze phrase by phrase. We're asking God to hear our prayers, our prayer in this case. Addressing Him, God, as the God of my righteousness. So in other words, the way I am understanding and expressing my righteousness is God's way. So the God of my righteousness is my ethical approach to life is defined by God. That's my God. So it's like everything potentially good that I can achieve or create is inspired by God's goodness. It's like for the sake of God. So you have to be righteous, you have to be correct, you have to be proper. So we approach God in our righteousness. It's like we're striving to be good, to be correct, to be proper. Because you ask me, God, to be like that. So I'm being as you ask me, then I ask you for what I need at this moment. You who set me, past tense, did set me free when I was in distress. This is interesting because freedom is the opposite of captivity. It's like when we are in distress, we're not necessarily captive, we're not necessarily prisoners. But it is, based on the semantics of this verse. You set me free when I was in distress. It's like our preoccupation, worries are our captivity. We are not free in our worriness, in our worry. So then, you who have set me free before from my distress, from my agony, from my inability to change my reality for good, in the name of goodness, for the purpose of goodness, you who have helped me done that before, I ask you, you say, be gracious to me. Now, what is the word grace means? Is it by the grace of God, or gracefulness, or it's full of grace? So how do we understand grace? The usual translation, according to Judaism, according to Judaism, because probably in Western cultures or different cultures, grace probably have a different meaning. It had to do with beauty, it had to do with looking nice, like having a particular quality that make people likable. But in Judaism, grace is about goodness. It has an ethical connotation. It has an ethical meaning. So being graceful is the expression of goodness. You just say, I am in grace, or I look graceful because I'm good. Not necessarily because I'm a nice person, or I look nice, or I behave in a particular way that people like me. So grace is not a quality of a sympathy or sympathy contest. Like who is more graceful here? Who's more likable here? It's not about that. It's like, make myself be graceful. It's like, do me grace. It's to be goodness. So make me likable. Yeah, it might be understood in that way. Like probably David, king of Israel, had this problem that not everybody liked him. So he said, hey, God, please make me likable so people would like me. He may have asked for that. Yeah, why not? He's a king. He wants to be loved. He wants to be appreciated. He wants to be liked. But in this case, it's not about liking for being liked, to be liked. Because it's an ethical context here in Judaism. And King David knows that, by the way. Everything here is ethical. So it's like, do me goodness. And make goodness my grace. My gracefulness is goodness. But the problem with grace in non-Jewish understanding or perception is that people are graceful no matter what. It's like if the person is evil or has a negative traits, but still he's likable, he's graceful, then we accept him anyways, unconditionally. It's like, hey, he could be bad, but he's so nice. There's something nice that I like about him, that no matter what he or she does, I like her or him. It doesn't work in the Jewish context. It doesn't work that way. So be gracious unto me is make me good. We have in Judaism, every morning in the morning praise, we have what is called Birkat Kohanim, which is the blessings of the priests. The priests, at some point in our prayers, bless us. So, there are 3 blessings, and one of them has to do with grace. It's like, may your countenance, your face, shine on me and embrace me. Make me graceful. So again, the context is like, it should make me likable. It could be understood that way. But once we have the face of God reflecting in ourselves, His light reflecting on us, on our face, on our presence, we're good. So the graciousness, the being liked by others, is based on the goodness that we have, not in the evil that we may have. So let's be aware of that. So we are blessed by grace, with grace, in order to be graceful, because of goodness, not because of us. Like, in spite of who we are, or bad, or whatever, please make me likable anyways. Doesn't work that way. Oh, let's keep that in mind. So, be gracious unto me. So give me grace. Bestow on me your grace. And hear my prayer. So it's like, approach me with goodness. Give me goodness. God is good already. So we're not asking God to be good to us. He's good. So this is not what King David is saying. He says, be gracious to me. He says, don't be angry with me. Don't be bad to me. He's good. So he's asking to put that grace onto him, onto David, not onto God. God doesn't need grace. He's gracious, yes, but it's for us. So be gracious unto me. Give me grace. Give me goodness. Make me good. And hear my prayer. It's like, once you put the goodness on me, give me the power to do goodness. That's what is here. Give me your goodness in order to be good. To hear my prayer. So my prayer is to be good. What other prayer? What else is David Hamelech, the King David, asking? It's bestow your goodness on me so I could be good. It's not bestow your goodness to me so people will see that I'm good and they will do what I want. No. No way. Okay. Verse 3. It's interesting. He's asking first God, and then he's addressing, David is addressing men. Interesting. O you, plural, sons of men, how long shall my glory be put to shame? And that you love vanity and seeks after falsehood forever? So after David asking God please hear my prayer. Why? I have issues with men. I'm the king, says David, but I don't know how to do with these people who are full of vanities, falsehood. They believe in things that are not true. And they're vain. So he's addressing then the people, the vanity, the people who in his kingdom who are dealing with vanities and falsehood. So then he addresses them. So it is presumed that after David asked for God's grace and heard his prayer, David is ready to address his reality, his surrounding reality, his subjects, and then he speaks to them. And he's addressing a particular specific issue here, which is vanity and falsehood, which are the same, by the way. Vain things are not real, that's why they are vain. Are transcending, in this case. It could be real, of course, but transcending, like, is this something that matters here? Now David continues his own reflections, addressing these men, these subjects. But know, he tells to the men, but know that the Lord has set apart the godly man as his own, God's own. The Lord will hear when I call unto him. There's two parts here. First, he's still talking to the people, to these subjects, to these vain men who deal with falsehood. He says, but know that the Lord has set apart the godly man as his own. So he's talking about a godly man. What is a godly man? A man of God. What is the man of God? The man who is with God. What is God here? Goodness. So it's like God set us apart when we're good. Set us apart with him as his own. Because we are emulating his ways and attributes. Therefore we are his. We're doing like him. So we are with him, meaning we're separated from vanity and falsehood. Because we're dealing with righteousness here. Goodness, correctness. And then the second part. The Lord will hear when I call unto him. In that context, if we are with God and living by his ways and attributes, he will hear us because we are with him. He set us apart with him as his own. So it's understood clearly in this way. Verse 5, tremble and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Because David is addressing his subjects, these men. Tremble and do not sin. Tremble. The usual translation of trembling is something related to fear in the whole Hebrew Bible, in the Torah and also prophets and different scriptures. Every time that something is trembling, like it's fear. People are shaking of fear. But it's a misunderstood and mistranslated term. Because all this tremble, in most cases, unless it's a specific case that is about something very bad that we have to be afraid of. In most of the cases, the tremble is about vibrating. It's about shaking in order to move on. So we tremble is like we our energy is vibrating in us to make us move on. So it's a trembling that has a purpose. It's not a passive action. It's like, I'm afraid, I'm get stuck, I'm paralyzed, I'm not gonna get moving. It's exactly the opposite what David is telling this man. Like, move on, tremble. Start feeling life. Start feeling goodness and vibrate with it. Tremble. And do not sin. It's the direct consequence of putting goodness in action. You're not going to be able to sin. Why? There's no space for sinning when you are in goodness. Unless you move away from goodness and then go do sin, do evil. Commune with your own heart. Now, in this case, heart, we're talking about love. We're talking about the good things. He did it with his heart, with his intention, with his determination, with his conviction that he's doing something good. Wholeheartedly. See, like, let's commune with our own heart, with our own identity, with our own goodness. It's like being consonance. This communing here is being in consonance, being in harmony with, an empathy, like it's part of it. Our thought, our intention is consonant with our actions and speech. Upon your bed and be still. Bed in this case is a place of rest. It's like rest into goodness. Not necessarily in terms of not able to move, like the lethargy of being on bed, like laying down. No, it's like meditate, commune, be connected with your heart, with your goodness. Okay. Upon your bed, open the rest, the comfortability, the comfort of being there, being in comfort with goodness. So don't be stressed, don't be standing or just lay as the bed. In rest, in calm. Be still. Some people say when they're talking about peace, it's just, peace, be still. It's remain. Reign. Occupy everything. Be still. Our sages, or you sages say about Shabbat, is like, and they understand these verses in the Torah when he say, and God stopped from his creation, his doings, and he rested. He rested. They understand this resting, not as sleeping or inactivity, but it's stillness. So like stillness in terms of a harmony that is holding itself in its own harmony. That's stillness. Like still waters. The waters are there, they're alive, but they're still. They're not in turmoil. Still, they're there. And they're alive, they're not sleeping, they're still. So that's what we do in Shabbat. We try to be still. We don't move anything. We don't. Like everything is in a state of stillness. We're with God. It's stillness. And then we have to understand what stillness is here. And David is giving us a hint of what that in this verse. Be still. It's like keep yourself in that harmony, in that completion, in that completeness, in that wholesomeness. In that completion. Be still. It's like one way with goodness is try to be still with goodness. So, no, I'm good, I'm gonna stay still, I'm not do anything. No, 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 no. It's like keep it on in your movement, everything you do. Keep goodness still, like it's not in turmoil, it's not uncomfortable. It's still, it's there, it's holding on, being there for us to be felt, to be expressed, to be manifest, to be lived, to be experienced. That's stillness. And we understand stillness. It's like the goodness of God is still. It's not upset. Forever. So this is Selah. This is the Hebrew is Selah. It's just forever, forever. It's like a, you say like confirming what he's saying. It's like that's it. It's forever. Verse 6. Offer the sacrifices, the offerings of righteousness, and put your trust in the Lord. So out of this stillness, meaning out of this permanent awareness, an awareness that is not going to be upset, disturbed, because it's still our awareness of goodness. We bring the offerings. What is the offerings? Exactly that we are still holding still. Our goodness, that's the offerings. To God. It's like, you bestowed on me goodness, I'm doing goodness. That's my offering to you, back to you. I'm your harvest. I'm giving back to you who you made me fructify. You have multiplied my goodness. This is it. I bring it back to you. It's yours. I'm yours. So this belongs to you, God. Of righteousness. We're talking about goodness here. That's why I repeat goodness, goodness, goodness. Because righteousness is the whole context of this chapter. What is correct? What is correct? What is good? This is not good, it's not correct, obviously. If it's evil, forget it. Negative, no chance. Righteousness is goodness. And put your trust in God. And again, we're bringing who we are, the goodness that God made us from, and the goodness we are, because we're made out of His goodness. We offer this goodness to Him. Therefore, that's the basis of our trust. He gave us life. He sustains our life. We have to give Him back this life that He gave us. And how do we do that? Trusting Him. It's like, you gave us life, you sustain us, you give us everything we are, have, and do, and create. Therefore, we have to trust Him. Most of us don't. So we know as a fact, we believe in God, that we are His creation. He sustains us, He keeps us alive, He gives us brain, He gives us feelings. Everything that we have and are His, come from Him. Therefore, we have to trust Him. So if we lack about something, we have to ask Him, because He's the one who provides for us. Therefore, we have to trust Him. So David knows every phrase that he's saying has a meaning. So the culmination of this process of recognizing the goodness is still in us by trusting Him. This is the premise. We have goodness coming from God. We have to trust that He will keep giving us this goodness. That He keeps us, sustaining us. 7. Many there are that say, that we could see some good. Lord, lift you up the light of your countenance upon us. What is the light of the countenance of God? His goodness, His grace. So let's pay attention to this. Many there are that say, oh, that we could see some good. We all want good. But David is telling us, yeah, most of us want good. Everybody's asking for goodness. Therefore, because we pursue goodness, we ask God, give us goodness. Lift you up the light of your countenance upon us. The goodness of God is His countenance. That's the good that these people are asking, by the way. So David is telling God, you're good. We come from you. The goodness that we pursue, that we desire, that we yearn for is yours. Please give it to us. And he's poetically saying, the light of your countenance put on us. 8. You have put gladness in my heart more than when their corn and the wine increase. So this is very, very beautiful from King David saying, all the material possessions, all the abundance that we have in this world, all the corn, the wheat, the wine, the increased, the abundant one, the abundance of this is little compared to the gladness. In this case, gladness is goodness, again, that God puts on us. To say, I want God, says David, to give me your goodness, the gladness of my heart. I want to thank you. You have given me happiness, the goodness of the happiness of your goodness, which is more than what I can find in the material world. More than all the food and all the material joy that wine can give. Because that's the way it is, by the way. We're here with nothing except what God gives us. Let's be aware of that, in what we are, and what we have, and what we do. It's given by God. Even if we do out of that whatever we want, still it's God's. Even the evil that we got to come from, He gave us free will. So even if we choose wrong, still it's God's property. But then we pursue goodness. That's what we want. We want goodness. Father, God. The gladness of your goodness. More than their corn. And we're talking about the corn and the wine increase. We're talking about what men do. Because He's addressing men. Remember, He's addressing God and men at the same time. And again, men in this context means not only the subjects of God, of David's kingdom, but also the material expressions of life, of consciousness. Those are men and women. The material, we are matter, we're here living, we have flesh. And we produce things, and we have wine, and we have food, but the gladness of God's goodness is beyond that. And their corn and their increased wine. It's like no matter what we invent, what we create, what we dream, the material things that we may dream about life, they're nothing compared to the goodness of who we are, the goodness from which we were created. That's far better far more abundant, far more increased. Because it's the source of what we have, what we are, and what we do. 9, and last verse of this chapter 4. In peace will I both lay me down and sleep. For you, God, make me dwell alone in safety. So he's ending this prayer, this particular prayer, by thanking God for what God has given him. And again, we're talking about the righteousness of goodness, the goodness of righteousness, the gladness of goodness. So in peace will I both lay me down and sleep. It's like peace in this case is completion. It's like my fulfillment, my wholesomeness, my completion. Both I lay and sleep. It's like I rest in it and I can go and sleep, like go transcend this world with it somewhere else. Because God has given me this peace, this goodness that we were talking about. For you, Lord, make me dwell alone in safety. What is our safety? God. What is our peace? God. What is our goodness? Love. God. What is our love? God. All the goodness that we have is love. It's God. And that's our safety. When we have goodness, we're safe. Goodness is our safety. God's love's ways and attributes are the source of all goodness. Our safety. Let's see our kids. They're safe when we love them, when they know that they're loved and protected by love, cared for by our love, fed by our care, by our interest, by generosity, by love, by our love. So that's the safety, that's the home, the goodness that they pursue. That's home, by the way. It's the place in which we are still in peace. It's our safety, our security, but that's God. It's not a place, it's God. You, Lord, make me dwell alone in safety. When you say alone, it's talking about our own conception, our consciousness of existence. In this loneliness that we have as individuals, God is our refuge. Okay, so we're happy that we are getting some good impressions about these reflections on David, most of them private. So we hope that we continue enjoying these awarenesses, these awakenings into God's love. And in that awareness, we find our own redemption, our own goodness, our own essence, and true identity, which is God's love, from which everything comes. So we wish you an amazingly blessed week. Shabbat Shalom. And until next week.